Hi, you already read the title, so let's talk. I haven't said that for a while, but I'm ready to get back in the swing of it. So, I wanted to talk more specifically about the new Contenders season that's going on right now and my predictions for it. And for most of these teams, I haven't gotten a full opinion on, at least from like not knowing the rosters, because they literally wait until the exact day that Contenders is about to happen to announce their roster. But either way, I'm going to be going over all of it, giving my thoughts, opinions, whatever. So, with that being said, let's get into it. So, I think the two most interesting teams to look at, obviously, in terms of where they're going to be results wise, is going to be Bobby Wasabi and fucking Redbirds, solely just because they're made up of AT players. And honestly, I think it's really interesting because I think both of these two aren't at the level AT were, obviously. So, with that being said, I think that now it's kind of like how I was talking about when it came to Overwatch League, when it's like it's not really the most fun ever seeing the same exact team winning over and over again. I think this adds at least a little bit of spice to it, where even if both of these teams are filled with like people that are friends with each other, which I'm assuming that is the fucking like that's their shit, that I mean it's gonna be a little bit more interesting, hopefully. But that's just in terms of like namesake that I already know. A lot of these teams I haven't had too much time to, I guess, kind of take time and digest properly. So to start with Bobby Wasabi, on my initial look at this, honestly, I think I don't want to say they're worse than Redbirds, but I don't think they're as dominant as Redbirds. So obviously Speedily is a big piece of the team, and I think obviously today's matches, or I guess yesterday's matches by the time this is going out, already happened. So I mean King played, and I think played pretty decently if I remember right. And I mean, the big question mark, and I think is always going to be for everyone, is hydration main tank. I don't think that's someone that is necessarily someone that comes to mind if you think of a main tank that you need personally. But I mean, in terms of the support line, their support line's pretty solid. I mean, obviously Kaluj, very solid. Although I don't know if he was playing much today. I vaguely watched the games, and hopefully that can give a better prediction instead of me like just going off who did well day one. So I still think that this is going to be a top table team. I don't think it's going to be dominant though. That's my main I guess idea with this team, and I'll figure out all the things for all these teams in the future in terms of like rankings and stuff and my predictions on that. But next we get into this team. This is basically like, whenever I talk about Contenders teams, a lot of teams pick up cores of players from other teams, and like by example, this in my opinion would be an Odyssey team, where obviously Rack, Rhino, Vulcan, Tree, like all people that have kind of been in the Odyssey circle for a while. What's really interesting is Mudkip on this team, who's Renko. Wub, I mean, I'm not the biggest Wub lover, so I'm not super interested in like, I think the DPS line is very, like, it's very good, it's well rounded, but I don't think that it's anything too crazy. But going back to what I was gonna say about Mudkip, this is the first time in a really fucking long time that I've seen Mudkip not with I think Fishcake is the other person, that they're like always on the fucking same team. But whatever. I mean, I don't want to move on yet, but this team I think is also going to be kind of more upper tier. I don't think it's breaking top 2, but I think they have a really good chance of getting 3rd or 4th, which isn't bad in my opinion at all. But Uprising Academy, okay, this is interesting. I mean, obviously these guys are playing on ping, but I think QOQ is really fucking good. I think I haven't seen much from this guy, but I don't think their support line is amazing, but I think their DPS line is pretty alright. So I think this is kind of like a half and half team in terms of how good I think this team is. I think the DPS are pretty good. I know at least half the tank line is good, and I think the support line is like alright, but nothing crazy. So for that reason, I'm thinking they're probably going to be 4th or 5th, pretty mid-table. Moving on, I don't know how to say this, Solaris, I guess. I mean, this is another really weird team, mostly because when it comes to like this Seasons guy, never seen too much stuff from him besides like I think when because he was, I believe, in the Noble match, that was like the Noble match that kind of went not really viral, but it was just interesting because they had to play down a player or whatever. But I mean, I wouldn't say there's anything outstanding about him. Okay, so this DPS line I think is really good. I think it's fairly up there. Cowman's alright. Cowman's pretty good. And in terms of the support line, I feel like is a coin flip. I don't think it's incredible. I think there's better pieces that people probably could have been brought in personally. But I mean, I wouldn't. I still think that this is most likely. This is probably gonna end up being a mid-table team, in my opinion, just because like I think the DPS line is really good, but no one else on the team really stands out too much. I mean, obviously like Paintbrush prior Owl experience, but I mean even in recent Contenders, I guess, times, he hasn't performed like super well to where you would be like, holy fuck, Paintbrush. Okay, but Redbirds, now I'm fairly certain that this is going to be the number 1, if not number 2 team, behind or with Bobby Wasabi, obviously. But I don't, I don't think people understand how different this team is now, because yes, this has AT players with Reiner, with Ultraviolet, with Hydran, but in my opinion, Lucamino is a downgrade from OG. Anyone from Kaluge is a downgrade, and I would say Iron is maybe close to the same level that like False is, and I don't think very highly of Sam. So personally, I don't think, again, like the Bobby Wasabi team, I don't think this is another dominant team that we're gonna see. I think this is a team that is it's gonna make or break teams' mentals, in my opinion, because in my opinion, when you go into a series, into a game, you have to have a fresh mind. And a bunch of people can say that they were like, you know, I'm confident, I really think that we know holes in their games and stuff, unless you're going against American Tornado. I think that kind of gives them, in the I guess weirdest way that I can put it, like a kind of a buff in a way of like, I think people go up against American Tornado players and we're like, oh my god, these guys were so good, and then they just crash and fucking burn, and they don't even like think that there's a possible way of winning. Which, I mean, again, that's a testament to, I mean, obviously it's a testament to how good AT was, but it's a testament to how people's like, I don't know if willpower is the right word is, something like that. But moving on, I think Wisp. Now Wisp is interesting. So to, I guess, point it all out. So obviously, I think Rocket has a lot of potential. I think this support line is interesting. Because Infamy is carrots, and Moser is kind of a, I don't want to say a coin flip, but Moser is a coin flip. Moser does either really well or is not someone that you see and you immediately think is like a top contending like support in the whole Contenders scene, I guess. But personally, I think guys like brightest moments are definitely brighter than some other people's, and I think if Guy gets that ironed out, I mean, especially like I think his Zen was pretty good. I don't know, I think there's potential in him, but I need to see more of it. And in terms, I think Malthal's interesting. Nas is interesting. Like, Malthal and Nas with Rocket, I think makes for a pretty well-rounded DPS line in terms of flexibility, in terms of talent, all that stuff. Their tank line is interesting though. So personally, I don't think like Cry is bad by any means, but I don't think Cry is a like top contending off tank. And Doge, I don't know, I feel like Doge has kind of been like passed between so many teams, at least in the past, and like looking at gameplay, I don't know if it's for a like good reason, because if it's like a, oh man, everyone wants Doge because he's so fucking good, but I definitely think that the tank line has talent. I could see this team probably getting like third or fourth, so that's at least how I view it. And that's obviously assuming that these teams play the best. So, time to review the redacted team. So, interesting situation happens. Let me tell you a little story. So, I am simply minding my own business, and my good pal Rocket joins ATK mode. ATK mode becomes Drifters eventually. All this shit happens. Boom. I start talking about their support line, saying, hey, I've looked at your VODs, I've looked at the gameplay. The only issue that I see in your team is your support line. In the video that I made with Rocket, I literally took a second out of the video to singularly flame their support line. And what happened? They played in Open Division, same team. They're like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, it broke more. They placed top 24th, bought into Contenders, and lost their first 2 games. So everyone thought that they were out. Everyone immediately was like, there's no way these guys make Contenders. They've already lost their spot. They lost 3-0. They can't even, like, is there even a physical way that they could do it? But most crucial part of the entire story, Neptune got benched. So, going full circle, this team, who I've been not really preaching to because I now have them blocked on stuff, because if they don't want to win, that's on them. I mean, I was trying to, give helpful advice, but they eventually finally heed to words of advice when they're almost down $2,000 after buying into Contenders, and they play Yamitra CJ backline. They won the rest of the games in trials. Wow. I think that is a fucking amazing storyline, and I still think this team's gonna end bottom tier. Not because of anything, like, I guess, personal or anything, but in terms of, I don't know, man, like, it's a, I'm trying to think everything, because I don't think that this DPS line is anything outstanding. I've said time and time again, I think Chime is a hit or miss. Very inconsistent in how he plays. I don't think CJ is like anything breathtaking or anything, but CJ is very average. Yamitra is very average. I mean, I think the tank line is good. I think the tank line synergy is really good. And I don't know how often they're playing boat, but like boat's alright. So I think they have parts to do well, but the synergy, I don't know if it's there, as well as the drive. I don't know if it's there. Like, the drive, in my opinion, when you are on a open division team that you've been trying so long and so hard to make into Contenders, and just if I'm to drum up a hypothetical, let's say hypothetically Drifters earn their way in the trials instead of buying their way into trials. Let's say they buy their way in the, or let's say they earn their way in the trials. You're then gonna have so much more motivation because you're like, holy fuck, I could actually do it, instead of being like, damn, we really placed 24th, and then buying your way in and being like, yeah, let's fucking go. We spent a lot of money on this shit. Like, it's such a weird, different experience in my opinion, but that's kind of whatever. So with that being said, that leaves us to our last team, but I'm not gonna talk about them because the last time I did, it hurt their feelings, so I'm not gonna bother. Alright, so with that being said, let's draw where I think everyone is going to place, and I will obviously not be ranking Dice Gaming, but you know, if you want to let your imagination run wild and know that, like, after I'm done putting where I think everyone is going to be, then maybe you can draw your own conclusion about where you might think Dice might end. So do what you want. So Bobby Wasabi, I think, is going to be first or second. That is very different sizes. First to second. I think Redbirds is also first to second. I think Wisp is third. That is backwards. Third to fourth. I would much rather see Wisp in third because I think they might edge it out over over Odyssey players. But third, fourth. And then in terms of mid-table, fifth and sixth, and I would probably put Solaris here as well. Fuck. Fifth and sixth. Drifters, unfortunately, I think might run out of steam. And obviously I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say anything about DICE. So, with that being said, that's about all I can think of for all of these predictions. I think that this, I guess, season of Contenders is going to be really interesting, being that it's kind of going to be I don't know if it'll be like a battle of grit in terms of like how bad people on Bobby Wasabi want to win, or how bad the Redbirds people want to win. But either way, I think that it's going to make up for a really interesting couple of weeks. I mean, I'm hyped for it. So if I think of any other, I guess, times that I want to talk about this, I always just want to call it a split. But if I want to or if I want to talk about this season of Contenders any other time, I might make another video. But as far as I'm concerned, that is the end. That's all I got. So I appreciate the fuck out of you for watching this video. And I mean, without further ado, you can follow me on Twitter and know whenever I upload at Demented. And with that being said, I will see you when I see you. Later.